So our youth are constantly bombarded with over information.
Social media, you can use it very well, but also make sure you prioritize your offline life, engaging in your hobbies offline as well.
That feeling that is not like before is also a warning sign that the person may be having some mental health issue and needs support.
25% of our students, of our Meghalaya students, are suffering from a lot of stress.
Meghalaya government today takes care of 69,000 adolescent girls who don't have access to education.
Once again, I would like to welcome our esteemed panelists. Thank you for sparing your valuable time to be here with us, and we look forward to an engaging discussion. And we also hope that you'll share your valuable insights with us and practical tips and strategies for the students so that they can use in their daily life. I also want to encourage the students to please ask questions. This is a platform, an opportunity for you to get your questions answered and also your doubt clarified. So without further ado, I would like to start this discussion with the first question. I would like to ask for Dr. Jasmine first. Doctor, how do you see the mental health scenario in the state? I'm talking about the state of Meghalaya. What are the different challenges that our youth face today, and how have these mental health problems and challenges evolved over the years?
At the very onset, I would like to thank Women's College Fraternity for inviting me to this very auspicious panel discussion. Today is the 10th of October, a day when we remember that mental well-being is the utmost important in the human life. So, to that question, Kong Iban, I think that our youth are the most important population of the country. They are a transition from adolescence to adulthood. And that's the time when they play many roles. So what are these challenges that we are talking about? Mental health, I think, is the biggest area that needs to be addressed. When we are talking about this mental health, many of us, like our esteemed principal of the college has mentioned, we do associate it with something that is a stigma. We do associate it with something that is taboo, because our mindset has not changed. So when we are looking at our youth today, we have to understand that we have to realize that this mental health, let us be clear about what mental health is. It is a state of well-being. It is the ability to cope with the stresses of life. The realization of personal abilities and potentials, and the capacity to learn and work towards the betterment of the society. And this is World Health Organization talking about what mental health is. It doesn't say that it's an illness or it's an absence of illness. It's the overall adaptation that our youth have. We have to address this issue, because when we are looking at different areas of youth problems today, we can see that they are in a turmoil. We have seen Nepal recently. We are seeing even in the Western areas where the youth are getting frustrated. So I think the biggest challenge of mental health is when there is a sense of frustration among the youth. Now, when we are talking about frustration, we are saying that our potentials of the youth are not being realized adequately. So what happens is there's a big gap between their potentials and what they're actually able to achieve. So when we look at this, how does it impact the youth? It impacts them because they are unable to to realize their dreams, or they're unable to cross those hurdles of, maybe, all kinds of barriers that is coming with government policy, barriers that's coming with youth problems amongst themselves. Peer pressure is so important that we have to look at. When we have to look at this cyber crime, social media demands, it is extremely very high. So our youth are constantly bombarded with over-information. There's an overload of information. Now we are addressing what is called mobile addiction in the youth. Because this mobile addiction is taking them away from even respecting their families or giving importance to their studies. So when we are looking at all these important things, what are we looking at? Are our youth able to actually realize their true potentials? And what happens with them not being able to reach those goals is that they will start to overthink. So stress is a big challenge of our youth today. When I talk about stress, I'm not talking about just, worrying. I'm talking about how this stress gets, absorbed into the body, and those chemicals that are supposed to actually maintain well-being are not being produced adequately. So these are the youth who are also addressing their, impulsiveness by engaging in drugs, engaging in all kinds of promiscuous behaviors. HIV/AIDS is a thing that we are looking at today. I think Meghalaya, we are alarming rates of all this happening. So when we are looking at crime around us, we are seeing that, yes, more and more, our youth are a vulnerable group that needs protection, that needs life skills.
Exactly, ma'am. You rightly mentioned that, our youth have the potential. And we also understand that in this age and group where, with technological advancement, there are several factors that contribute to mental health challenges that we see around us. And you also mentioned about how potentials of the youth are not being realized. And I also like the fact that you spoke about, the challenges that come with addiction, be it substance abuse or be it screen or mobile addiction. So I'm going to move on to Dr. Sharma. Doctor, if we look at, because you've been in the profession for a long time, and what do you say are the early warning signs that a young person might require mental health support?
Before any mental health issue flares up, there are always some early warning signs. And if these signs are recognized, a person can be helped to overcome the mental health issue. Many times we see an adult or a young adult, will say, is having persistent change in mood, in behavior, in functioning, which is gradually progressing with time, and then affecting their day-to-day functioning, their relationships, and their safety level also. And these are definitely warning signs that the person needs mental health support. A young adult facing emotional and behavioral changes is a warning sign. Say a person starts expressing helplessness, hopelessness, feeling sad all the time, or not able to cope with situations, declining in the academic performance, and at times they show impulsive behavior, anger outburst, they become violent. All these are early warning signs. A person expressing self-harming behavior, for example, started harming themselves, cutting themselves, banging their heads, or started talking about death, suicide, or pessimistic things, or even casually says that I may end my life, or things relating to death, relating to the negative aspect of life, may also be a warning sign. If a person loses interest in his day-to-day activities. He loses interest in his family, friends. He starts withdrawing from everyone. As if he's going in a shell. He loses interest in his hobbies. The activities he enjoyed previously, he don't like it anymore. Is also a warning sign. Many a times we find that a person having some mental health issue, they do not present with the typical mental symptoms. Like if a person is depressed, we expect he'll be sad, he'll be feeling low, or he'll be crying. Or a patient who is anxious, having anxiety, is restless all the time. But many a times patients don't present with the typical symptoms. They rather start presenting with physical complaints. Say their biological functions are affected, not sleeping well, not eating adequately, or having headaches, stomachache, or other physical complaints for which they visit the doctors repeatedly. They do various tests, and all the time the reports come normal, but they are not healed. This is also a warning sign of some underlying mental health issue. And then if a person starts expressing symptoms like fearfulness or become suspicious, have hallucinations like hearing voices, seeing things, stay like scared all the time, become violent, have abnormal behavior, have delusions or false beliefs, or the person do things which is not normal to him. Well, we feel that, okay, what happened? Like he's not like before. That feeling that he's not like before is also a warning sign that the person may be having some mental health issue and needs support.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that clarification and that information so that our young people will also know. And I just wanted to say this to the young students. We understand the different challenges and the difficulties that you're facing at this age, you know, with your studies and everything around you. But I wanted to say this, that, you know, seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is, you know, a sign of strength. Because to address a problem, we need to talk about it. So I'm going to move on to Dr. Nandi. Doctor, being a social media influencer as well, and a physician, how can you see how can social media be both a help and a hindrance to a young person?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be among such empowering panelists and have this discussion with you all. Okay, so social media. It all depends on how you use it. It can really be such an empowering tool in this age, and it can also be a disadvantage if you don't know how to use it. So let me go to the positive sides first. For me, social media, I love to use it as a tool to create an empowering community online. It really depends on how you know how to balance your offline life with your online life. Second is you have to take calculative steps to know when to use it and when not to use it. For me, how do I balance that is by having proper timetable when I'll be online and when I'll be offline. So these days, social media can be so empowering in such a way that you can connect with people, you can get inspiration, it can be used as a knowledge tool. Yeah. And the disadvantage to it is these days, as we can see, like when you're online, it's called doom scrolling. We see a lot of youth these days, they spend most of their days scrolling through social media, comparing themselves to what they see online. Oh, this girl is so perfect. Why is my life not like this? Like, that's the disadvantage of it. So it really depends on our mindset, how we use it.
Can you share some tips on how to maintain that balance, online and offline?
Okay, the tips to balance that off. First, like how I've stated, it's very important for you, yes, social media, you can use it very well, but also make sure you prioritize your offline life, engaging in your hobbies offline as well. And second is you use it in a positive way to learn, to grow, to connect with people. And you can have such empowering and meaningful connections too. And these days there are so many communities online where you can share about yourself. Like, I'm sure a lot of us must be going through stuff and all. And that you connect so well with people that way online. There are so many communities.
Thank you, Dr. Nandi. And earlier you mentioned about empowering women. I did not realize this until now, that in the stage we have all women and even the audience. So I would like to welcome the men as well, especially your principal is a man. So it's nice, because this is actually one of those few times that we have an all-women panel, because most of the time women often do not participate in such discussions. But I'm really happy to have all of you here. And you're right, it's very empowering. And secondly, you talk about social media. Like Dr. Nandi mentioned, that social media is a double-edged sword. You can use it positively or negatively. And you just have to know how to prioritize your time, how to prioritize your offline time and your online time, and use social media in a way that would help you, that would empower you, because it can be used as a knowledge tool. So I'm moving forward to Dr. Kar. Ma'am, from an academic point of view and perspective, how can colleges support students' mental health effectively?
At the very beginning, I would like to say a very good morning to all present here today. And I would also like to thank Deep Jyoti India Foundation for making me a part of this wonderful and very important discussion. Now, as educator, definitely we have, and in the institutions also, we definitely have mechanisms to look into all these issues of the students. But before that, I would just like to continue with what Dr. has spoken in the beginning. She was talking about stress of the students. Can I take a little moment to explain a little bit about the stress that our students faces? Means students not only of our institution, probably students all over the country and also of the world also. Now, it is like this, in our country, India, we have the largest rate of youth population in our country, and that also in the state of Meghalaya also. In India, it is like a 66%, something like that, according to the 2023 UNESCO findings. And in the state of Meghalaya also, we have about 49% of the residents under the age of 20. And 25% of our students, of our Meghalaya students, are suffering from a lot of stress. They are confronting a lot of challenges, I will say, and then there are many, many issues. Now, the first and the most important issue that I would like to say as a teacher is that they have a lot of academic pressure. Academic pressure is very high on them. There is expectation from the parents, from the teachers, from the society that you have to score such marks, you have to do this, you have to become a doctor, you have to become an engineer, your father is this, your mother is this, so you also have to follow them, or else what will the society say? Like that. Okay, that is one very, very important reason as to why I feel our students have a lot of stress. Then there is another stress which is coming up, and that is adjusting to this newly technologically developed environment. Now, youths, of course, youths are very smart in using technology, but then there are many youths who are left behind, and then they feel very much dejected in the society because they are not able to cope up. And as doctor was also saying, that they have potential, but they cannot express it because they do not have the mechanism to do it, because nowadays everything is being done through, through technology. Everything, wherever you go, you see it's the technology which is being, even in the market also, you are seeing that we are using all these apps and all to make the payment also. Even in the smallest of the smallest shops also, they will ask you, make a Google payment and all. Okay, that is another thing. Now, students with all these stresses in their mind, when they go back home, they have so many problems in the home front also. Financial problem is there. That is one very major thing. Another problem may be the home is not a very comfortable situation where there may be conflict between the parents. There may be some conflict with the other siblings. So what do? They have a lot of, they become derailed, at times. And I feel it is at that time that they take up to all this drug abuse, to drinking, or they fall into bad company, and then they have peer pressures also. Peer pressure is also another very important pressure, because according to their friends, they have to keep themselves up when they come to schools or to colleges, or else there again they are left behind. They are looked down upon, or maybe they are bullied in the classroom. That is also a very, very important stress that a student faces with regard to being bullied in the classroom. Of course, in our institutions, we have all these things. It is not at all there. But then these things happen, okay? Now, another reason why students face a stress, which I have seen in other parts of the country, and that is the parents putting a stress on the on their children to get a job immediately after the completion of their courses. तुमको जॉब नहीं लग गया, क्यों नहीं लग गया? तुमको जॉब लगना है, सबको लग गया. तुम्हारा छोटा बहन है घर में, उसका शादी कराना है, उसके लिए तुमको देखना है. This type of issues are there. I have seen that with my own eyes, okay? And I have experienced also. And many of the students, after completing their courses, they don't want to go back to their homes also, because they are so scared, because they haven't got a job as yet. What will the parents say? They will say, you're coming back home, you're going to sit back home, and this is also another thing, okay? Now, these are some of the issues which gives them a lot of stress. Now, in the educational institutions, what we do is we have these counseling sessions. Counseling sessions is not only like in our college, but in almost all educational institutions, these counseling sessions are becoming very, very important feature. And counseling both day-to-day, personal counseling as well as group counseling we have. And by counseling, I feel students who are stressed, they are given an opportunity to express their problem, I feel that whatever suggestion the counselor will tell to the students, more effective than that is when the student is given an opportunity to express herself. The fact is, when they are being heard, that only, I feel, relieves their stress a lot.
I think, you correctly mentioned, madam. I am no counselor, nor am I a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but from experience, I can say that, like what madam said just now is very correct, that we need to have a space to express ourselves. So, which is why we earlier also had mentioned about, the need to talk about these issues. And you also mentioned about the different kinds of pressure that we face in our day-to-day life. I believe as adults, and even students, they have different kinds of problems in their lives, and it's high time that we take this matter up seriously. So I'll move on to Kong Lingwa. Kong, from a government point of view, from a government perspective, are there any different schemes or initiatives that the government has taken to extend mental health support to educational institutions?
First and foremost, I'm so grateful to Georgia. It's the first time I've met her today, and she kept on calling me. So, but I never go anywhere without permission. So I'm sitting here also for 3 levels of permission across the state. I grew up in a situation where, I hail from Jayao Langsning, if you would have heard, Madan student kind of. So I heard this quote where it says, like, a wise person learns from the mistake of others, So I was watching around, and I made it a point not to get scolding and not to do anything to make anybody scold me. So from that angle, I never had boyfriends also. Till my mother forced me and my uncle, because I was the only daughter. So it became very easy, because when you're forced to have a boyfriend, you don't get scolding also. You're forced to get out of the house. Then I got a job, and then I got the job as MCS officer. Then I went to, my first posting was in July. I was forced to get married. I'm telling it to you young girls, because with me, here is a copy. And by the way, I don't talk conventional talk, so please forgive me if I don't know how to go routine, gratitude. With me is a book which we had sponsored, Martin Luther Christian University. And we found like the level of teenage pregnancy. So when you're forced to get married, by the time you're pregnant, also everybody feeds you. By the time you get married, everybody takes care of the kid, all right? So that was my situation. And today, in the government, when we're sitting, we suddenly found, like Madam was saying, that we have the highest cases of teenage pregnancy overtaking some parts of India. And that is because of the socio-economic index. So actually there's a word that I really rely on. It's Proverbs 25, which says, the glory of God is to conceal a matter. The glory of kings, meaning people who have the ability to call resources, to have the power and the influence. It is the glory of kings to search out a matter. So this word holds a key note in my heart, because I'm a history student and I'm a lover of the Bengalis. My #1 hero is Dr. Surendranath Banerjee. And so coming to Shillong Women's College is the first time I'm stepping today. And when I met, when Madam Yvonne Maury, whom I met for the first time today, so I told her, please ask me last, because this is the first time I'm seeing her. I'm like shocked. I have never seen her. She's too cute, so I just got blank. So if we're talking about mental health, like, I really don't know how to go with technical talks, because in other places which you have a lot of intellectual and the academia, I might be categorized as a mental case, all right? And in school, they always call me a crackpot till I got a child. So with this crackpot, then, like crazy and this, but we did not know the level of creativity and the level of, like that artistry that was happening. We were not able to tap it sometimes there was limits or challenges of the taught, or like maybe a teacher or tutor. So to keep you quiet, they don't allow you to talk. So you're branded crackpot till I got a son. And when I got a son and I went to a PTM, the principal put it on a screen, a picture, which he asked us parents to gauge, and to assess. In this picture, there was a man who carried 2 buckets of water, and he would always take this bucket from his house to the well, and he would bring it. One bucket was cracked, the other was not cracked. And he would go in and out every day, in and out every day. Finally, after 2-3 months, the part which has the cracked bucket had flowers growing. The part which has no cracked, all fixed. Nothing was growing. And after a lot of questions that were being asked, it means if you're cracked, you're not so full of yourself. You give out to others, and people grow. So that was a time I celebrated my cracked situation. So I don't know really how to talk about this, because when we landed, by the time I became a director of social welfare department, 2 years ago, we suddenly found that we have 1,700 uncovered villages. We suddenly found out that we had no roads. I'm looking at some of you. I'm thinking, how did you come to college? Do you have enough money to sit in a taxi? If at all, you have to walk. When you go home, if you don't have change of clothes, those are part of the mental stress, you know. How do you cook? Because I don't cook. Like I said, I don't trouble anyone, so I don't want to marry also because I don't want to cook. But thank God, I did not know my husband was a policeman, so he had a chef till he retired, and he found out I couldn't cook. So part of all the mental stress happening out here. Anyway, so I'm thinking now about you children. So we are doing a lot of studies, and in our studies, our first core focus, the beauty of the Meghalaya government today, and I am a proud advocate, is NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, which has 3 components: foundational, stage, school level, and the higher education. On the foundational stage, you cover from 0 to 8, school level from 9 to 14, and the higher stage, which is covered by technical education. So in the whole of the country, the beauty is that nobody were covering 0 to 3. But in the wisdom of our Honorable Chief Minister, whom I follow because what's the use of talking about Akbar and Aurangzeb and Queen Elizabeth? They're no longer in the picture. Why can't we see? Today, this is the first time I'm seeing the 3 of you. Like, how is it we're talking about Taylor Swift? We're talking about, the actresses, Alia Bhatt and all. How is it I don't know you? Of you, of all person, I've heard so much about her. I've seen the, YouTube comments. Everybody adore her, the youth. And me also, I can't talk, I'm admiring her. So for me today, my hero is Dr. Conrad Konkal Sangma. Why? Because it's only in Meghalaya, over the whole, country of India, we adopted the Early Childhood Development Mission in the foundational stage, which is Early Childhood Care and Education, which is ECCE. So under ECCE, you cover only 2 components, which is nutrition and education, basic. But with the Meghalaya government adopting this in 2022, we were able to cover 6 domains: nutrition, the mother's health, father's presence, community, and the community, and then the brain development, and the care, which is the health sector. On this, we were able to understand the level of teenage pregnancy. Where did it come from? The pain point is the absence of the father. So when the father is absent, you will be here. You've seen the news yesterday, day before, what is happening. So under ECD, our key point, early childhood development, is that the brain develops 90% only from 0, like the 1,000 days. On the day you get married, if you sleep with a man, and because this is a women's college, if the Lord opens your womb, if your uterus can carry the sperm, 4 days on conception, your brain starts to form, point. And on this, the brain develops 90% from 0, that means 9 months in the womb, up to 2 years, 90%. After that, it becomes very difficult. You carry the trauma as you go up. Then dropouts happen in class 3, in class 4. And if it's just hit and run, like you come to college, class 11, 12, you're so tired, you're staying at home, nobody is there, your parents are in the village most, because I have the figures here today, the figures from here. Then the boy is also a class 11 student, the girl might be a class 10, a class 9, all right? And because of that, the girl becomes pregnant, doesn't tell, even in the village. When she doesn't tell, and then the baby gets squeezed, the brain doesn't develop. In Meghalaya, we have 38 lakhs population, of which on record we have 36,000 disabled, but 49,000 that we are doing the collocation now, where we find, therefore, these are the neurons that get affected. Because if the mother couldn't tell at home that she's pregnant, she becomes a mental case. The baby is already prepared and nurtured for a mental situation. Now, we found out in class 3 and class 4, when we are doing the disability situation quotient, we found out that some of the children who get scolded and branded, we Khasi, we call these animals name, mamea, that pork or swine in Khasi, which we are not supposed to call actually. It's because the child did not hear. so cannot respond. The teacher brands as a dull, a dullard, or a fool. And this percolates on. So the child grows up, becomes a mental case, and that's why we are sitting all here today. By the grace of God, Meghalaya government today, therefore, is having an MOU, which we signed with us last year under our Honorable Chief Minister, my erstwhile minister, and Dr. Sampath Kumar, who spearheads all this with these studies with St. John's Hospital in Bangalore because of the situation of all these mental situation and all. So the government of Meghalaya is on this path actually. As of now, we're signing an MOU with UMEET. UMEET is an organization in Mumbai which spearheads also this growth monitoring device where we do studies every day and data. So we come back, as is the glory of kings, to collect data. So I'm sitting here with you today on the importance of education, on the importance. I therefore come now to congratulate the principal, Sir Ratanadeep. He is part of our Women's Commission, very gracious gentleman. So you students here in Women's College are very blessed that you would have in your principal who opened the door for such a discussion. Because like I always say to my sons, 5 oceans, 7 continents, and if you get to be in a school, in Meghalaya, you can put it down, 14,500 schools, up or down? 14,500 schools in Meghalaya, 10 lakh students. How many higher education do you have? How many colleges do you have? If today you young people are sitting here, your gratitude should be number 1 to your parents who sponsor you to come here. So when we talk about mental health, are we, the college I feel is doing enough because the ambience is beautiful. I'll just read this so that you can get this. There are no ordinary people. You never talk with a mere mortal. So that's why I'm looking at you as like, God send an angel. Because if it's not her and Ma'am Georgia from Deep Jyoti, organizing this, I would not be able to sit with Ma'am Jasmine, Dr. Jasmine. She is the key word for psychologist, intervention for most of the children. She gives a lot of guidance. And then Ma'am also has been helping us with our drug addicts. And then we have children who are murderers below 18 years. She does that. So I've met you. You might not have remember in Mauka Siang. The Meghalaya government takes care of 1,400 children. Erstwhile it's called orphan, but for political correctness, we have to call them children in need of care or protection. Meghalaya government today takes care of 69,000 adolescent girls who don't have access to education. How do I get all these figures? I'm in charge of Mission Vatsalya, which is, if you could see the girl child, we will be celebrating on Monday with Madam Sister and our Honorable Chief Minister. The girl child, where our Honorable Prime Minister, understanding this situation, is giving importance to Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. I mean, you protect the girl child because with you lies life, okay? Because of my mother understanding this, today I told my son, they study with me here. Because I also have, like I'm telling you, I have these mental situations because I worry, how will they study? So they miss out on outside studies. But I told them when they went to school today at college, number 1, there's truth, there's a lie, there's right, there's wrong, there's good and evil. My son, I cannot go with you, but can you have that spirit inside of you, like I'm reading from C.S. Lewis, where you do the right thing? And because of him, I was able to understand our young people coming from the villages whose parents are farmers, who sponsors them to study in these top colleges. And when they go home on rainy days, they do not have any heaters because they stay in rented house. And they come to school late because they come from Molai, from Lightgore, from Nong Tamai, from faraway places. They come to top colleges here because they're good children. But when they come, the gates get locked. Do we have that empathy in our institutions to open the gate? Are we part of the contributors to mental stress? Do we have that kind of a compassion to understand one student is different from another student, from another student, from another student? My son asked me, Mummy, can you give me money? I'll need to buy. I said, can you carry extra in case you see anyone who doesn't have? Can you buy for them also when they go for fetes? Where does the school take them for fetes? They take them to Jyoti's Rod. They take them to hearing impaired. So in those schools which sensitize you to inclusivity, which schools which sensitize you to need and challenges in the society, the educational situation becomes a power-packed level where we address these issues, ma'ams. So some of you from sociology do come for internship. You come to our institutions. So we have childcare institution, we have observation homes, we have halfway homes where you do your internships. This is how the government does intervention. But we have become a society that's very ungrateful. When I talk to all of you, if I say, it looks as if you have just made, you're ready-made. No, mommy and daddy were instrumental to your education. Some angels just came to give you food and you're surviving today. Can we come back to the core value of gratitude? When you're grateful, we address part of the issues of mental situations, And then, so the government today employs 14 employees. For women's side, we employ 700. Out of these 700, most of them are MSW and, graduates in sociology or social works. So, and what we pay is like 10,000, 15,000 because we don't want you to be there all the time. So they've applied for jobs and they've moved on. Then we keep on circulating. Then and this is where you have the Women Helpline, 181. If you ever are to visit me, I'll take them. They don't have Christmas, they don't have New Year, they don't have Easter. It's 24/7. They take rounds to work there. Ma'am will do a cover and then, then you will learn about it. Because these are options for you to come and work. I do have some from Women College and different colleges. Then we have Mission Vatsalya for children in need of care and protection. For this, we employ again about 700 young people. And under this, in all states of Meghalaya, 15 in one districts. And then we have 3-4, where you have the Juvenile Justice Board, the Children Welfare Committee. And this is where the government, therefore, does these intervention. In fact, on Monday, we will have the International Day of the Girl Child, where Honorable Chief Minister will be distributing sanitary pads. Because we found that in the village, I'd go and do inspection. The moment you get your menstrual period, you don't go to school for 4 days. In 1 year, that comes to 45 days. You become an automatic dropout. And so when your mother doesn't have for you to change clothes, you just go to wash clothes. And then you met a cowherd. Then you hit it. You don't know you're pregnant. Then it happens. And that's how, when you don't have any recreation also, no activities, no hobby, you keep on sleeping in the dark. And then you have 6 kids, 7 kids, 9 kids, no brain development. This is what the government of Meghalaya is therefore embarking today with all these, where we are signing MOUs with Gates Foundation. They're investing into these situations. And for this, we are employing the best of the best kids from Delhi, Sri Ram, Hindu. They're part of us. We call them the research scholar. We don't pay them in Indian money because most of them are PhD, they're doctorates. And so these are the people who prepared all these papers. So we do it in the Khasi Jaintia, pictures which is relevant to our community. If you would see here, and as of now, because of NEP 2020 ECCE, which we are doing ECD, I've got 12,000 Anganwadi workers and helpers, but they are not enough to carry with us the holistic report card, which we are doing for 0 to 3 years old, 4 to 5. So on this, ma'am, our children, 2,000 children will be employed, class 11, 12, or BA, if you don't get a job as yet. The money we therefore had on Monday with Georgia's sister, ADB team came. For the first time ever, they're investing not in structure, but in human capital. This is the beauty of government of Meghalaya today.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that wonderful explanation. I think she talked about everything from single mothers to pregnancy, teenage pregnancy to education. You covered everything. And to all of this, she linked mental health. And yes, it is true that family pressure, like she had mentioned earlier, the absence of a father, which is very high in our state, do contribute to different stress and pressure and depression among the young people. So moving ahead, I would like to come back to Dr. Jasmine Lyngdoh. Doctor, let's talk about the different strategies that our young people can use to cope with the stress that they face and the different pressure that they come across in their daily life. What according to you, are those different practical strategies and tips that our young people can use?
There is no one strategy that can give you what is called well-being. I think every one of us has a philosophy in life. We have heard Ma'am Lingwa talk about the philosophy, okay, of how we need to be aware of what it is that we are doing. So for me, I think it's very important that we develop individual well-being by giving purpose to our life. Let us be purposeful that we are here today listening to this discussion and not allow our minds to wander because we are overthinking about multiple things. So this purpose of life can only come if you give meaning to what you do. So I want our youth to realize that when you give meaning to every action that you commit, you are doing it with compassion, you are doing it with a goal orientation, and you are doing it with some principles in mind. Don't allow others to hijack your purpose in life. When we are talking about all these stressors, basically we are allowing others to hijack us. So I will say one thing is that before you even talk about outside or external things, please ensure that internal well-being is more important. We are so good at taking care of others. Yes or no? We are so good at thinking about how others think about us. We are so concerned about how we are displeasing others. But let me tell you one very important thing is that you need to live for yourself first. I don't want you to be selfish, but I want you to be self-aware. So the biggest strategy that I would put before any youth is that self-awareness. When we are talking about all the addictions, all the pressures, all the bullyings and all the negativities of life, I will tell you this, that we are not thinking how that impacts us individually. So yes, as a community, we also need to understand that we need to also look at this societal well-being. So what is it that we need to do? We need to sustain our economy. If our students are here today, learning their subjects, let me tell you that this purpose of your learning is to develop something that is going to help our economy of our state to sustain itself. Don't look for government jobs because you think that that's the only thing that gives you security. Let all other jobs build up towards a government job later on in life. So don't allow your frustrations about not getting a job. Do anything under the sun. Allow your potentials to be realized so that you develop yourself more and more and more. Number two is, I hope that, we are talking about a thriving environment. Why do we always have to look for faults in others? We are always looking at how we are going to put down government. We are putting down, administration. We are anti-establishment. Many of our youth, I will tell you, unfortunately, develop an attitude of anti-establishment without realizing what Madam Lingwa has said, that gratitude. Gratitude towards what policies are there, gratitude towards how we actually follow rules and regulations, gratitude that when we take those scholarships, we don't utilize those scholarships for any other purpose but for your education. And this is what thriving environments tell us, that yes, when we have a thriving environment, we are able to utilize our resources to the fullest potential. I keep on talking about this resourcefulness because I think if we are going to talk about our well-being and our health, mental health, until and unless we occupy ourselves productively, we will never see ourselves as mentally healthy. So I want you to realize, okay, that the strategy lies within you. Strategy lies in how you allow yourself also to take those challenges. For example, when we are talking about stress, what is this stress that we are talking about? It's actually just a hardship in our life. So there are different levels of stress also. There is eustress, which is very important for us to achieve in our lives. If you want to get an 80%, you'll have to have some amount of stress. But when we cross that line of eustress and we make ourselves distress because we have not done things in the correct way, we have not followed routines, we have not gone to attend our colleges, we have not respected people who are giving so much to us, then that will cause the distress for us. So yes, many of our youth will have a sense of entitlement. Parents have to provide for them everything that they demand. That's called entitlement. College has to give in to their demands. That's again entitlement. It's an attitude where we find fault in everything that is happening around us. I want us to be, okay, also mascots of, having a productive mind, mascots of what we, compassion. We should be those mascots of, productive thoughts, and also to be able to realize that nobody can harm us if we don't allow people to harm us. So keep yourself secure, make yourself very, grounded. For example, don't allow too many things to just take you away from your real goal in life. Because drinks, all these social activities and all these things are just going to hijack you. Come back to what you're supposed to do. Keep a tap on how you are supposed to achieve your goals also. When you're going from your, class 12 to graduation, to masters, to vocational studies, let that be purposeful in your life.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I like the earlier when you said that, let's give purpose to our lives. I really think that is and indeed a wonderful advice that our young people can use, because we understand that amid all the societal pressure that we face today, it is important, like Dr. Lingdo had stated, that you have to look after your internal well-being. So I'm going to come to Dr. Sharma. Earlier, Principal Sir had also mentioned about stigmatization. And we understand that even today, we see that there is a lot of stigmatization going around. And whenever we say, if a young person has to visit a psychiatrist, he or she would think twice. So, Madam, I want to ask you this question. How can schools and colleges create an environment to encourage the students and the young people to come forward and talk about their problem and share and express themselves without being stigmatized?
When it comes to mental health issue, there are lots of myths and stigmas because of which people hesitate to come to the professional for help. So first, when a family realizes that a family member or a person in the family is having some mental health issue, they will think about various options. One option common is going to the faith healers, where they feel that maybe through some local herbs they'll get cured. Another option people think about is going for prayers. Yes, prayers have a spirituality and prayers have a healing effect. And third option they think about is going to the professionals, psychiatrist or a psychologist for professional help. So it's very necessary that awareness should be created in the society among people, so that people know about the physical illness, they know about the mental illness too. Suppose, imagine any one of you is having cough. the family, everyone knows about it. Okay, you are having cough, you should go to a doctor, you take this cough. Or you take this medicine, or we have to go to the doctor, that awareness is there. But when it comes to mental issues, many a times people, the family, or the person himself don't realize it. So the awareness, the talking about mental illness should start from the home and the education institute they study in. So in schools and colleges, it is very necessary that schools and colleges should hold regular awareness programs among the students to make them aware of the varied aspects of mental health, about the various mental health issues, so that whenever they feel or they face anything, they can come forward to seek help. Along with awareness, there should be regular counseling sessions in the schools and colleges, so that the students can openly talk about their issues. They should be encouraged to talk on the personal level and on the group level too, to discuss their issues. And then not only holding awareness among students is sufficient, there should be also awareness programs among parents and guardians, so that they can understand their kids, they know how to handle the kids' emotion, and from family side, they don't put any stress on the child. And if they face any problems, they can come and discuss in the school or college about the issue. And another important thing, the schools and colleges should also educate the students about social media issues. It's very necessary nowadays to educate the student how to navigate through online spaces without, like in a healthy way, to identify those unhealthy or pathological comparisons which affect the child, or about cyberbullying also. Then one more important thing is that the schools and colleges should start student-led initiatives, encourage the students to take part in the awareness programs, and also form peer groups, whom the students, the peer leader, like the peer groups approach the students, and they help the students, their peers, to come out of the problems, or they identify the problems among students and approach the concerned authorities. Suppose in a class, one student is having some issue. So say he's abusing something, a substance of abuse. So many times the student peers, what they do, they feel that, okay, we should hide it, or our friend will feel bad. But rather doing that, they're harming that person more, because his addiction will increase. Rather than that, if the peer group is there, the peer group will go and talk to the student, motivate him to seek help, or even approach the concerned teachers or authority, so that they can provide him help to come out of it. And then every school, college, they should also initiate some online apps or websites where from time to time they post about various mental health issues, give hints for healthy mental health, and also on occasions like today, the World Mental Health Day, Suicide Prevention Day, International Drug Trafficking Day, they put some message to the students so that they stay aware of what to do, what not to do. And students become aware of their mental health, and they can make healthy choices. And this, like there should be helplines also in every schools and college, which, because many students are not open to come and talk about their mental health issues. They are hesitant. So these students can approach through the helplines. They can ring, or they can post in the apps about their issues, and they can seek help. So overall, talking about mental health is very, very necessary. The students should be encouraged to talk openly about their mental state, so that they can be given help wherever necessary. Along with that, the staff should be educated about mental health issues, so that they can, they can realize the mental state of their students. And the staff, if they see any signs and symptoms of any mental health issue, they can talk to the student or talk to the authority and provide help to the student to get to heal from that. And along with that, every teacher should be approachable to the student. If a student is coming out to talk about something, it shouldn't be that the teacher say, no, I'm busy now, please come later. Because the student may not come back later. So to create awareness and to sort mental health issues and to create a healthy mental health environment, the students, the teachers, all should work together.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We understand that awareness is very important, and you rightly stressed the fact that we need to talk more openly about mental health in any place, be it a school or a college, even at home. I think we should go back to the time when we all sit together as a family and talk about what we did for the day, the entire day. I think we should go back to that. And I also agree with you on on one point that you raised about teachers and the school authorities being more approachable to the students. And I also want to say this, that I believe every school and every college, they need to have a trained counselor, because I keep on saying this, that I've spoken to a few teachers in different schools where they had expressed their inability to act as counselors, because teachers cannot be counselors. So I feel, educational institutions do need a trained counselor, because we see that, we see so many of these problems and the challenges that our young people face. So if they have anyone to talk about, they can obviously express to the counselor. I'll come back to Dr. Nandi. Doctor, as a physician and as a public figure, how do you use your platform to advocate for mental health awareness?
I want to share a very personal story about me to everyone. After I graduated from NIGRIMS MBBS, which was last year, me and my batchmate, my best friend, we rented a house. And we thought we will sit and study and prepare for NEET PG. At first, it was fine. We were like, okay, we will sit for 10 hours, 12 hours, we'll sit, we'll do great and all that. And the months went by, and at some point, it got really stressful. It got really stressful, and the pressure from family, from our teachers, from everyone, we feel like all eyes were on us. We feel so much pressure to do well, to compete with others, that at some point I went into a very dark space. That went on for like weeks, and it turned into months, and at some point it got so dark that I would just wake up in the morning, I would sit, I would open my books, and I would just go into self-doubt, self-pity, and at the end of the day, I would realize I'm not so productive that day. And the cycle goes on. And because I'm not productive, I feel more down. I wanted to seek help, but I wanted to seem strong as well. I didn't want people to think that I'm weak. So I just kept it to myself. I didn't talk about it to anyone. And then it got heavier. At some point, I was like, no, I can't go on like this. So I pick up my call, and then I call my mentor. It's Dr. Tejas. He's also a psychiatrist in NIGRIMS. I talked to him, and I told him about all that I was going through, all the self-doubts and the self-pity and me feeling so weak and not being productive about my studies and a lot of negative thoughts. And let me tell you, that phone call changed everything for me, because I chose to seek help. And the same goes with you. Don't think that seeking help will make you seem weak, but it's an act of bravery. From then onwards, I started calculating my time well, and I start prioritizing self-care. I start going for short runs in the evening after it gets too stressful. I start taking care of my diet, a balanced diet, and I start talking to more friends about how I was feeling. And to my surprise, a lot of my friends also go through the same self-doubt. It's just that we didn't want to talk it out. So today I really encourage all of you, if you're going through stuff, make sure you talk it out to someone. Having a supportive circle, it's like so important, a support system. It can be your best friend, your college mate, a parent, a teacher. It can be anyone, a partner. So yeah, make sure you always seek help when you feel down. It's very important. Second, I want to talk about self-care. Take care of yourself, sleep adequately, and a balanced diet is so important, and also physical health directly correlates to mental health. So make sure you prioritize your exercise. Be just like 20-30 minutes a day. It can just be as simple as going for a walk or going to the gym if you can. Yeah, that. And also, third thing I want to tell you all, that when you face challenges, make sure you don't judge yourself too harshly. Take it as a learning tool instead of, feeling down about it. So, like how the topic is building resilience in youth, I think these are the steps you can build resilience.
Thank you, Doctor, for those wonderful tips. And yes, you once again stressed the need for us, for the youth, to talk about your problems, because like she mentioned, it is not a weakness. In fact, it is an act of bravery. And she also spoke about the need to create these supportive circles and communities, where we can lend a helping hand to our friends or our peers. So thank you, Doctor, for that. I'll come back to Dr. Kar. Doctor, just now, Dr. Sharma had mentioned about student-led initiatives. How, according to you, as an academician, how can peer networks and these student-led initiatives contribute to building resilience in the campus?
While answering this question, I would like to focus on our institutions. Our institutions, we regularly have this type of programs where there is this awareness programs on mental health, awareness programs on various health issues of the students, plus programs to deal with drug abuse, then various types of programs we keep on having, okay? And students are participating in these programs. Sometimes, of course, they are the ones who take the initiative to organize these programs, because we have the social work department here also, who also does a lot of this type of programs in the college, as well as outside the college also. They go to various villages and also to various areas where they try to tackle these type of problems. So I feel that by doing this, a balance is created between their academics, their studies, and their activities and their responsibilities, that not only to look after themselves, but also to look after other youths who might also be suffering from this type of problems. So this is what we are regularly following, practicing, doing. And another important thing, can I also make some suggestions in this regard? I feel that, of course, we are practicing that. We are having counselors, and they are all trained counselors, and we need to increase their, these sessions in almost all the institutions, as you have also said. Another thing is that I also feel that a paper on mental health may also be included in the course, because under NEP 2020 we have lot of multidisciplinary courses, ability enhancement courses, then we have skill development courses, where one paper can always be included, and a trained teacher, not a teacher from the college, but a trained teacher, as one of our panelists have suggested, can be made to take that particular course to train the students. And side by side with it, I also believe that, as Doctor was telling here, physical activity like taking a walk, taking a run, or whatever it is. And along with that, I feel in educational institutions, yoga and meditation should be encouraged very much. And in our institution, we did have a yoga center some years back. We had to stop it for some purpose. But yoga and meditation does train the minds of the students, and I believe that it will also discipline them, give them some redress to their problems. Now, another thing, these are all in the educational level that we have discussed. Now, in the social level also, maybe with the help of the various NGOs of the city and other stakeholders, we can have small awareness programs in the localities where I see that we have church programs and all that. In the similar way, if we can have such type of programs where some responsible people of the locality can invite the parents and create an awareness among them excuse me, as to how to deal with their children who are suffering from such stress, because many a time I have seen parents say that, see, during our time we did not have all these issues, okay, you forget it, you concentrate on your studies. These things are not to be talked also, forget. So, but the child is suffering, isn't it? That is not looked into, totally avoided or totally neglected by the parents. I feel parents need to be made aware of it. And that is where the main crux of the problem lies. Because if you give me another 2 minutes, I just will want to share an experience of myself. I was the convener of the counseling cell of this college since 2007 for a long period till 2016-17, like that. And that time what happened, one particular day in the morning, in the first class, a student from Mizoram, she collapsed in the class, okay? She collapsed in the class. Then since I was the convener, our principal sir, Sri Debashish Chaudhary, he had asked me that you do the needful, you take her to the hospital, because she was getting very serious. So I took her immediately with the help of the college vehicle, I took her to the Nazareth hospital and immediately put her in emergency, and I was there with her for the whole day till late afternoon. And the doctors diagnosed everything and they said she's perfectly okay. There is nothing to worry about. Only thing is that she had some gas formation in her stomach. So after that, I took her back home. I dropped her to her house. To her house means she was in a rented house in Nongtumai, and along with her, she had two younger sisters and a very small brother who might be just 7 or 8 years old brother, okay? And they all live in that rented house. They have come all the way from Mizoram to study here. So I dropped her and all, and then I came back home. And after the next day, she wasn't present in the college. After 2-3 days, she has come. Then I was keeping a track on her, like what is her problem. Then I used to ask her, what is your problem? Why did you faint? The doctor said nothing happened. Do you have any problem? Any other problem? Please come and meet the counselor who is having a personal counselor. Not the group one. I said, you please come and meet her. If you meet her, maybe she'll be able to help. She was reluctant, and finally she came, and then she discussed her problems. As a rule, counselors are not supposed to disclose, isn't it, the problems? But in this case, the counselor, she disclosed to me and she told me, she has a serious financial problem. And then she also told me that on that particular day, they did not have anything to eat because their parents in Mizoram, they were simple farmers, and farmers were not able to send them money regularly. Maybe for 2 months or so, they could not send them any money. And on that particular day, she had just one packet of biscuit and she had to share it with her two sisters, and most of the biscuit she gave to the youngest brother. And she came totally empty stomach. So when then we took her to the college office, to the principal and all, and then college immediately made her fill the form for scholarship, state scholarship. And then she started to draw some scholarship, and in the meantime, her relatives also started to help her. Now my point is like, what I want to say is that when you know that it is not possible for you to supply the money regularly on every month, parents, then why do you send your children so far? Let them study there. Let them be with you, isn't it? So you should understand, maybe because the other relatives are all coming to Shillong to study, so they thought, no, we will send them also. But giving hardships to the children is also not advisable, I feel. So parents should be made very, very aware. They should understand their children. And now the situation is changing. They come and complain. We cannot control them. They have gone out of control, you know. They don't listen to us. But why is it like that? Why is it like that? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We understand that, counseling needs to be given not just to the children or the students, but parents are equally important in this case. And you also mentioned something about the need for all stakeholders to come together and to address this issue. I'm going to come to Kong Lingwa again. Because earlier even Madam also had spoken about the need for all the stakeholders to come together and work to build a stronger future and a resilient future for our youth. How can families and the local communities, with the help of the government, bring about programs to support mental health awareness?
Ma'am, as I'm sitting here, when one of the panelists was saying you go home, you discuss with families, in the first place, there's an absence of fathers. That is what we found, okay, and as per the studies. Now, when you go home, the mother is still out because she's still working. She might come home at 5:37 with traffic jam, 7:30, because most of my workers are women. So I have 2-3 departments. So I would ask them, where do you stay? They'll stay in Sadao, then another one in Milliam. I said, what time do you get home? They said, we get home, 8:45 and all. So I feel, can we be real when we talk? Like I'm looking at the kids. Most of them are not from here because most of us who are capable from here, we want to send our children outside, which we are doing. So most of the kids here are from other parts of our state. I know that because I hear these stories from my son. We pack extra tiffin. Like Dr. Yasmin was saying, be self-aware. How much do you know about yourselves? So I am under pressure to send my kids outside. But I said, no, I know myself. 8 billion people. You have your own children, deal with your own children. I deal with my own children. My mental health is seeing my children near me. So I go home at 9. When I was in DC office, I just hit the mattress. I reach home at 12, 1, there's no holidays. I also go through mental stress. I de-stress by washing napkins, even with the maids, because that water running just helped me to de-stress. It's not that all of us have our own demons and battles to fight, even till today. So what I do is, so I will not be able to explain how do families and the community, because if you could see the scene that was happening, of YouTube and, flooded with what is happening. The communities try to come in, but we are limited, right? So even to deal with these drug issues, I had a town where, again, our Honorable Chief Minister, the government was supporting, but later on these community leaders came. They got sick because they did not know when they were dealing with drug users. Another spirit was overpowering them, and they threw the elders outside the gate. 4 of them were hospitalized. And they said, we don't want any more of that sport. Scary, it's happening in town. These are life issues that I get traumatized sometimes. So what I do for myself, I just play music in the room and I work. 14,000 people, and we reach out to 4 lakhs. In Meghalaya, the government has a religion. Our religion is James 1:27. Real religion is taking care of orphans and widows in their distress. And today, as I come to you, I was asking my staff, how much are we paying, which we pay 8,600 per year to a senior citizen, which is not help. We are coming to that level later on. So how does a kid go home when you say that it's staying in a rented house? Who do they talk to? Is there enough food? Do you have LPG? Because right now we're dealing with firewoods. These are the basic amenities. Are they there even in our state, which we are dealing now? So we are now in contact, even with the petroleum ministry. Can we get more? Because we don't even have a bottling plant in our own state. See, these are the issues affecting our children. They come to class. They might feel sleepy. Why? Because we suddenly learned with ECD under this component of nutrition that because we are not a state heavy into protein and iron, so we don't take eggs and we don't take milk. So we take shasau and pumaloi, which they give to my office every day. I said, I get so depressed looking at that shasau and pumaloi. So we went on a drive to get Nari. So Nari was our baby. So we're helping now for 1,000 milk farmers with just 20 officers. It got inaugurated. Chief Minister was behind it. But sometimes, what stories do we put up in a social media? Is it about me all the time? Or is it about the farmers? Or is it about the administration, the governance that therefore does its part for the people, but for want of IEC? So why is it that you don't know so much? We did not get funding for IEC, which means information educational campaign. It's not coming. Why? See, when we started out our state, it was on 3 components: reading, writing, arithmetic. Why is it that we have done away with maths and science? Today in my office, I've got vacancy of 40, which I need economics and maths. And ma'am, you kept on, with due respect, you kept on calling me Kong Lingwa. Yesterday, I put in my status, Jingsneng to Men, translated by Bijoya Sawian. If anyone call you by half name and not by the name that was dedicated or christened by your mom and dad, don't respond because it will eat on your aura. Lada fisha khot ka kerteng ka bomdehi ka hok ka jongpi wali thi lada fisha khot ba deng ba do, which we do, No, we have a name. So that's why Georgia was writing Camellia Dori, not even the lingua. The lingua is just to identify the clan so that we don't have intermarriage, ma'am. So in fact, why is it that even in our curriculum, we have done away with Jingsneng to Men? That was our core value which we did with Mrs. Kaji and Mrs. Kalkongor. We go to an English-speaking school where Khasi was like, you have to know. My son got 96 in ICSE, my nephew 100. Khasi were like core, The identity, your identity, therefore get messed up. At the end of it, the core is education. Can we venture now into education? Did we dilute with reading, writing, and arithmetic? My son, ma'am, is applying for a scholarship because I did not get scholarship. Because we suddenly found out when I was in class 11, I wrote for scholarship, my mother's income, I decreased it by 10%, and I wrote, we sold a shop. We really had a shop for 3 months, which was so scary. So from that time on, we learned truth and lie. We don't lie anymore. So my sons also won scholarship, my brothers. So we say, no more lies. So none of my son gets scholarship because I said, the truth. So now the chief minister is saying, irrespective of the income, everybody gets a scholarship to enhance your study because the socio-economic income. Some of our parents are getting only 20 or 30,000 in my workplace. With contractual, it becomes 18,000. So because of this, my son now tells, let's hope I get, okay, mommy, can you open for me a bank account because I want to buy a pair of jeans. Where's this reading, writing? I am not scolding them because I want to be a role model. That's why I carry a lot of papers. Can we inculcate again? That's why I'm a lover of the Bengalis, because Surendranath Mukherjee, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Arya Samaj, the Sati abolition, this was done. Ma'am, you were talking about the church. So we have 3 components. If you go home with this, spirit, soul, and body. Body, I wear clothes, I eat. The soul is what we are doing now. It's a soul feed what we are doing now. It's a soul experience. You're listening to me, I'm listening to you. But the spirit, that kind of a voice. So today, I was sleeping. When I woke up, there was a voice that said, go to John 10, because today is 10. Go to John 10. John 10 is the scripture that I have 2,000 years ago. John 10 says in verse 11, my sheep hear my voice. So whose voices are we listening? The spiritual journey. Do you have a guru? Do you have a spiritual leader? Do you have anyone who teaches you that path? This is where I also appreciate. That's why your sati, your infanticide, your nationalist movement came. Because men with a spiritual inspiration came to tell us enough of injustice, enough of exploitation, enough of being illiterate, enough of being uneducated, enough of you wanting to be pregnant, because you're going to start the cycle of not having money to have X. So now today, I'm on a journey of taking X, so I don't fall asleep, because all the time I fall asleep in meetings in the Sampat's room. When I started eating egg, I don't fall asleep anymore, because that iron, but you can't. So the Meghalaya government today, if you are to Google ECD, we are going to procure 40 crores X to give. Not only that, you were talking about how do children eat. So there's a scheme where the government of India wants us to tell you, adolescent girls, come to the centers. There's a midday meal, and there is a program for nutritional supplements. We are now going to introduce sanitary napkins. This is where the government come in to loop the gaps that there is an absent father in the home. And the elder sister, elder brother takes care of the children. And then they drop out by class 11. You know, I have with me helpers who I said, can you continue? They said, we can't, we don't, because we have to carry the money home. So can we be more realistic as, well, let's not talk about stories outside our states. Or, okay. You are very good children. I find in the state of Meghalaya, the happiness quotient is beautiful. Because to address we have 68 to 69,000 unemployed educated youth. And you know, commission, it employs only 600 to 700. So my department only 6 to 7. But the vacancies are like 200. So for this, the chief minister again organized these boards. Not only that, you have the grassroots. So for the grassroots, every young people, college-going student, you can enroll and register. That is why you have gigs all the time. But you will see in YouTube, like ma'am said, so anti-government, anti-establishment. Oh, sarkar, batang ka tamasha. No, it's because we have diluted reading, writing, and arithmetic, which were very crucial in Maukar Christian, in KGP, in all those schools which we churn out doctors and engineers from the Welsh mission. Because they started, Christian mission comes with education and healthcare. That's where you have the Don Bosco hub. Education, Nazareth, you talk, Auxilium, St. Mary's, St. Anthony's, all these schools, what do they give you? Education and healthcare. I had the opportunity to meet Sister Rosario on her deathbed, and she blessed me at 94 years old. She was the one who started Nazareth Hospital with another Angelus sister. I've not met her. And they were the ones who did inclusivity. How do we include mental health? It was from her I learned. So today, can we be realistic and see real life heroes in our own town? Our happiness index is very great. So every Saturday and weekend, if you are to see cooking competition, confectionery, music, it's because to tap these 68,000 youth who have gone to soft skills, bakery, confectionery, hospitality, music. But we have a vacancy of maths and economics and science and accountancy. And why is it that I'm not getting money for information educational campaign? The person sitting behind the computer is an art student. How do you do that? When it's such a struggle for me to do maths. I took maths, I got in minus 11, not even 0. I was that horrible. when people force you, you know? Anyway, that's not the story. But today I'm looking at you young people. Celebrate yourself. Enroll yourself for the scholarship scheme. Buy brooches. Buy sneakers. I never buy books. Go to the library, study books. Because we don't have that extra money. So when my friends, my best cousin got pregnant at class 12, I kept on looking at her. And with this story I taught in Sunday school. So whoever were my Sunday school students got married 33 years old, 34, because they suddenly realized, like ma'am said, self-awareness, self-awareness. Nobody loves you. You love yourself. All right? And I tell people, don't think when you want to get married, all the preparations, white dress, bridesmaid, you know, all the flowers, all the engagement. Next day you have to wash your husband's socks. Or you'll have to, you know, cook for whatever, I don't know, or wash. Unless they're equipped, you have your eyes like antenna. Don't have boyfriends so that if you get 7 letters and 7 teddy bears, you won't get slapped. You get it? All right, because I'm looking at you. I'm looking at the beauty that you are a story for Meghalaya today. We're in a very, let us be the ones who change the story. I know some of you will come from homes where your fathers have left. We found that. 82%, no fathers, they've left because of socio-economic. The mother asks for money, so she gets tired. I have a real case. My girl, she's 24 years old. She's got 3 children, and she was crying. I said, where is this? Where's that? Where are my books? Oh, I have to pay school fees. How many kids? 3. First one, when did you get? Class 10. Where? In Madan student, kind of. Where's your husband? Driver. Where he works? No student. What is his pay? 8,000. How much he brings home after he stays in a rented house in West Khasi Hills? When he brings home 3,000. What's the school fees? 8,000. So I told her I don't have time to even call my husband or to write letters or to get in, hello, good morning, this, that. You have time to sleep and get these children, not my problem. You just take 100, have tea. So don't make yourself guilty for people having 7, 8 kids without thinking. We think. Be futuristic. Like one, you know, there's one person who keeps on talking to me, says like, these young girls, you know, they get a boy, they sleep. That's a bicycle. Why don't you wait for a Scorpio? You know, look at a boy, maybe not Scorpio, well, let's see a Jimmy. All right? So look, does he have the capacity? Because if a boy is class 9, past class 10, he will not have the capacity to love you also. IQ. EQ. Do you understand, girls? All right? It's not that I'm having an easy life. I have vehicles because I'm an officer. But I don't do drives. I don't do drinks. I have to sacrifice because my credibility story is where? When others are enjoying, I don't. My son sees me what I do. I have to be a role model, right? So what do? I try to read this, that, then I collect all this. You have to come to my office. 3 rooms, my room is like a science student. I would have been a topper if with the kind of readings I do today. What is the government doing? The government, therefore, today is, right now, we are preparing our criteria and our money, like the money that we are going to pay some of you kids. You just go to social welfare website, lots of vacancy, or maybe part-time if you want to also, because we are calling you research interns, where we have prepared 24 modules to be taught to the parent, specifically a mother, in an Anganwadi center, taking care of 430,000 children. And on this, we have to tell them how to eat so that you will not faint. Nutrition becomes very important for us. All right, for brain development. And all these, therefore, contribute to our mental health and well-being. So I don't know whether I answer a question or not, but just go back with these 3 points, okay? I come first, where we love God first. We love our parents, number 2. We are nationalists. Anywhere our school is, in any parts of the world, we have to be lovers of our country. So you'll find me, I'm a lover of India. I love my country. Number 4. You just enjoy your indigenous being. That is being self-aware, you know? And then when you do that and when you glow and rise, you attract. Till today, there are some things that they ask me, what's wrong with you? People will ask, can we come for tea? Hello, I'm married. So I put a lot of pictures of my children. I'm married. I don't do nonsense, kind of. Have a life, you know, kind. So I'm telling you, when you glow, when you rise, you attract. Will you do that? And congratulations, ma'am, to Shillong College. What you honor, what you celebrate becomes a celebration. The moment I entered here, 5-storied building, you create beauty. You brought beauty in this situation. I feel that all of you should clap for your teacher and your principal. And I enjoyed seeing you 4 trying to slip out. We did that in St. Mary's. And the moment we got scolding, we nearly fainted. But that became part of a story 8 years, 10 years later. You know, some of you are slipping. Sir, congratulations. That is the beauty of discipline. And I'll end with this. When on ADB team, this Madam Ji Sung, she's a director all over the world, global. She said, in Singapore, in Bangkok, the BTech, you know, the engineer, they were like sweepers because of job crunch. Everywhere, it's everywhere in the world. We are doing relatively well. But she said, they think. And so we have quality people doing the task. And these men think, they said, we don't want a high fall of tourists coming. We are not going to develop this place which is aesthetic. Why? Because one cleaner thought and sent that to the Singapore government in one corner. So on that. So now we go back with you, feeling safe that your spirit, you will search for whatever you want to search. Which voice are you listening to? These kids that were done in the news, those who did that, what voice were they listening to? Are you listening to the right voice or not? And your soul. If your soul, this is such a beautiful college. Try not to bunk classes. I don't have too many books, but I never bunk classes. And I enjoyed every teacher. I celebrated every teacher. Can we come back to the path of gratitude? Will you tell your principal, thank you for hosting this show, because you have a very rich soul feed. Ma'am is very expensive. Madam is very expensive. Very difficult to get them, even in Negrims. Very difficult. And Madam Mauri, she should be a brand for, women and child development. Actually, we're searching. Because she's too cute, she's petite, And right now, under Ma'am's sister, nurses have gone to Japan, nurses have gone to Germany because they like the graciousness of our girls, We're so gracious, we take care of the old age. And we are a hit in outside countries to take care of the senior citizens. Options are beautiful, the future is great. The other people are asking me, what do you think? I said, what do you think about this, that, a lot, It's so numb and all, it comes under us. And if you have a problem, please call 181. What happened? We have a CM Connect 1982, 72, I couldn't get. So I called 181, they said, hello, who's this call? Then you can try, you can try, ma'am. 181. So I said, what's the problem? I said, no, there are wires dangling on the road. Who are you? I said, I'm your director. Yes, who are you? So I go and do these, hi, how are you today? I would go and call you come and visit. Actually, you should come and visit office, And so if you have anyone who doesn't come to the class, any missing teacher, and if you see somebody being abused, exploited, it's happening right inside my office.
Hello, this is Sonia, 129.
Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, I registered complaint with you on Saturday regarding the wires dangling from Blueberry Inn. Has there anything been resolved?
Registered with what?
I registered with you, I'm CD Lingwa.
Oh, yes, ma'am, yes.
So what is the status of my complaint?
Okay, let me take a particular arm.
There.
Actually, we are... Okay, ma'am, 1 minute.
I just want to tell you that from MSCB, they have called me, but I think because of lack of staff, it has not yet been addressed. So I will call you later and update me, okay?
I think she's getting the updates.
Then, yes. Ma'am, yes.
Yes?
So what's the status update?
Just hold on.
Anyway, while she talks, we have 1,000 cases, domestic abuse, sexual harassment, then taxi problems. You call 181. We have our girls. Later, some of you might join us for some period, internship, like ma'am said. Don't be scared of any job. I was a school teacher. During the time of our, those 2000, a lot of those activities were happening. My boys were from Maulai, from Jayao Mokhar, and they said, to pull it and shop it. I said, hello, you're in class 8, right? You're in class 8, the police will arrest you. Why don't you study? You become policeman, and then when you become policeman, when you catch the Khasi boys or, the locals, you give them rasgulla, singaras, don't beat them. You won't believe it, 6 of my boys became police. Ephraim, the one that was thrown with a stone, if you listen, Ephraim, he got married, he came to call me. He was the one, he's that police officer who got thrown with a stone in Sora during that fight. Then other 4, when I went for duty to Ranjan, they would salute me, Miss. And they're like, hi, you're now policeman. what do we teachers say in the classroom? Do we inspire or do we make people depressed? So education becomes important. And some of you, any issues, you call 1098, Child Helpline. You can help others also who have a need. But I'm looking at the potential in you. Beautiful happiness quotient in your faces. You walk on your inside, okay? You're all beautiful. There are times, my teeth, I have to do 30,000, but some of you have perfect. So you will not have to go and do it. Your hair, you have growth. Some of us, it's going with like falling. All right? See, look at my skin. This is my COVID branding. I don't want to cover with anything because we were in the street throughout during COVID. How much we had to pray. All right, because I was in essential services with LPG and Nari milk and all. Ours was an essential. But look at the mirror. Just look at the mirror. You're also beautiful. Don't look at anyone. Be your own heroes. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. That was very inspiring indeed. And like she said, let's celebrate. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate your uniqueness. And she also mentioned that it's time we look to real life heroes. And of course, she spoke a lot about education being at the core of everything. So I think we have spoken a lot. And I would like to open the floor for questions from our audience. So if any one of you have any question, please feel free to ask any of our panelists.
I have two things to discuss about mental health only. So one thing I want to say that to you, so how media can help our influential role in young people's mental health. Like personally, I have seen my friends and I have seen myself, like mostly we do Instagram. So we do social media, but it affects us in a very negative way. So I want to know how social media as a whole, like it can influence in a very positive way to young people.
Okay, thank you for the question. First of all, I think we have to be very mindful of what we consume online because that would really shape how you see the world. Second is you take everything positively. Third, you try to stay away from negative things. It can be very overwhelming sometimes. It's good. Social media is great. You can get so much of knowledge. You can inspire people. But sometimes it can get too overwhelming, you know, the news, the everyday happening and all that stuff. So you make sure you are very mindful of what you consume. Fourth, you connect to people in a positive way. Five, I think, like how we said, resilient. You have to have a very resilient mind. And yeah, if I'm missing any point, yeah, that's it.
I just want to add one thing about this social media. Social media knows you. It's AI. It knows what you are browsing. It knows your mind. It knows everything about your interests, your favorability. So sometimes when we are in a dark space and we are using social media to try and get out of that dark space, we are actually typing words that are very negative. And that's when social media tells you that this is the story that you follow. So you will tend to follow those stories that are actually reflective of what is in your mind. Please be aware of this, that this is AI generated. What you speak to that phone, how do you speak to the phone? You type out a message. That's your conversation. It all comes from within you. So be aware of this, that you are using social media to actually improve yourself, not to destroy yourself, because you will actually be surprised that many of suicide cases are actually, encouraged by the social media platforms that we are using also. So be aware of this. Know that you are using social media for your self-development. Fashion, ideologies, philosophies, even projects that you can get involved in is all there in social media. just be aware that this AI doesn't read that negativity that is within you.
And also, I would like to add comparison. Comparison is the thief to happiness. Make sure you don't compare yourself to what you see online, because mostly people out there, or even me, we often want to just post the positive things, the beautiful things online. But make sure you know that behind all those perfect pictures, perfect reels, at the end of the day, all of us are all human. We go through a lot of stuff, and a lot of people don't post that online. So never ever compare yourself to whatever you see online. You are very beautiful, you are doing so great. So never compare yourself. Yeah. And one last thing, like for me, when I first started in social media, those hateful comments used to affect me a lot. Someone would always write mean things about the way I look, the way I speak, and a lot of X, Y, Z. At first, it used to affect me. I used, like, even if for one reel, one picture, even if I get 100 good comments, if there's one hateful comment, that would ruin my day. That used to be my old self. But then with time, I learned to just ignore those things and just focus on the positive things. Thank you.
While following social media, always like, don't follow blindly also. Always do reality checking. What you're following is actually true or not before following. And one more thing, if you're more engrossed in social media, now you move to a virtual world where you lose connectivity with the reality. So spend more time on yourself. Limit the time on social media. Spend time with your family, on your goals, your hobbies, because that makes you. And another thing, don't judge yourself by the likes and shares you get. You build your self-esteem from within, not from outside. Focus more on the journey of your life, your priorities, your goals, your beliefs, your boundaries. Build like a healthy life skills, build healthy coping skills so that you can make your future better.
Thank you, ma'am. And I do agree with what Dr. Nandi was saying. She said something about, when you post something online and then you get like 100 good comments, but then if one comment is negative, it ruins your day. I do agree with you because I go through the same thing. But then now we are used to it, like you said, we tend to ignore. And then just one thing I want to add, I remember one meme when someone said, like, if you ask Google, the symptoms, if you give Google the symptoms, and Google will say this is the end, So I think, like ma'am said, you need to cross-check and verify whatever queries you have. So yeah, you have something else? You have some more questions?
This is for all of you, and this is a bit personal to me as well, because I have my own siblings which are suffering from mental illness, and my friends as well. And even though from my side and from my family, I always try to, be there for them and for my friends and my sisters who are suffering from mental illness. But even though I try really hard, but still, it's like, yes, I can see like they're building their personality and they're changing, but at some point of time they became the same person. And also for me it is frustrating as well, because like the people who I support, which are mentally not capable of handling themselves. So I just wanted to know this thing, like, how can we help and understand people who have mental health issues? Because from my side, I also want to help those people, because those people are my own loved ones. And also yesterday night when I was talking to my friend, he said, like, you don't also understand me. And I'm a bit confused also from my side, like, what am I lagging? Like, what can I do to help them as well, to to bring them back to life, because they're not the person which we used to know. Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Jasmine, you want to answer that?
A very relevant question which you have asked, and thank you for sharing a very personal information. I must say one thing, that when we have mental illnesses in our own families, a part of that resilience develops in us. So, one aspect of how we view mental illness within the family is how actually we become more sensitive to others. That's resilience. Empathetic listening, that is resilience. Tolerance, that is resilience. Ability to, open up to somebody, that is resilience. Flexibility, these are all important qualities of resilience, which I think for our young student who has asked that question, you will realize that these are the very important qualities that you have developed when you deal with mental illness in your homes. So do not allow mental illness in your homes to consume you. Always learn to stay out of that problem so that you can see yourself grow. Look, the biggest reason why mental illness does seem to, repeat in families is because of the environment. Some of those negative environments can consume us. But I'm so glad, for our young student here, that you are here in the college to realize your potential and your goal in life. You have chosen to pursue academics as a way to deal with the difficulties that may be there in your homes. Always know this, that when you have a crisis somewhere, don't be in that crisis situation for too long. Learn to get out of it and develop yourself. Education is the best way that you can develop yourself. Learning all those life skills and all those, soft skills that we talk about so much, those are important in our lives. So, your expectation of helping everybody, you review that again. Maybe it's not possible to help everybody. Let that one person who you listen to be that person who has actually poured out their problems to you. You may not have a solution. I will say, most of the time, I don't have a solution for the clients that come to me. But I'm there just listening to them, just nodding my head, just allowing them to feel safe in that little space that I create for them. So when you listen to somebody, you're listening with empathy. You're not listening with a solution. I don't want you to be this problem solver or this, you cannot solve everybody's problem like Ma'am Doreen said. I will not call you Ma'am Lingua anymore. So Ma'am Doreen says, you cannot be a problem solver. Okay? Don't allow others' problems to constantly overwhelm you. Listen with empathy. You may not have the solution immediately. Go back home, think about it. Try to look for a way in which you have been of help to that person that you listen to. It's very difficult to listen because all of us want to speak. Sometimes we can have happy worriers also who come to us. They worry. If they don't worry, they feel that their life is not full. Well, if you have a happy warrior in your midst, know one thing is that you have to learn to say no. Can we talk about this later? Learn these small soft skills of how you can be that person who helps others. So I hope that I've been able to give some ideas about how you will deal with this situation that you have at home. You are resilient because of the hardship that you have experienced in your life. Let that resilience, show. It's not the hardship that we show to the world, let me tell you. It's the resilience that we exhibit that is more important for our well-being.
I'd like to add something on this. See, mental issues like anxiety, depression, OCD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, all these are actually diseases of the brain where the neurotransmitters get imbalanced. So if you have anyone having symptoms or suffering from any mental issue at home, take for professional help. Because with medicines, they can be cured and the person can lead a healthy, productive life. So when it comes to mental illness, there are medicines to heal them, cure them. Along with that, there are therapies to help the person overcome. Say, for example, a person has some stress in life and went to depression. And because of the depression, it became a disease and the person had imbalance in the neurotransmitters. With medicine, the neurotransmitters will be stabilized and the symptoms the person is having will be gone. But then the person will be taught life skills, coping mechanisms, like in the therapy sessions. So whenever anyone is having any mental illness, take for professional help. Because for majority of the mental illness, they can be cured with proper intervention.
I think what doctor has said just now, that is very, very appropriate. We need to take some medical help because sometimes we are not able to tackle that. We do not know in which directions we are trying to tackle. Maybe we may be wrong also, and we are not expert in the field. I feel that we should go to the concerned doctors and take all the medicines that are required because medicines really help. Thank you.
So, I would like to close this discussion with an ending remark from our panelists. We can start from Ms. Kar.
Thank you. Actually, this was very, very essential that we had this program today. Many of our students have been able to understand also like how to tackle this mental issues if they have at home, or if at all they suffer from it. They can also take adequate measures, or they can also approach us. That is always there. We teachers are always there. Or we can help them with any medical assistance, or take them to the necessary institutions, or consult their parents, call them, ask them to come, which we do quite often with the parents-teacher meet that we have. So with this note, I would just like to tell all my dear students that it's good that you have all attended. You have at least 5% must have gone into your head. So when you are suffering from any of these issues, please do not feel that this is something very bad that is happening to you. You are most welcome to approach us if you do not find any help from your parents or from anyone. Thank you.
It was a very beautiful session, and let me tell you all one thing. You all look so beautiful from up here, so much of potential. Take care of yourself, do self-care, give your best every day, and if there's anything, always seek help. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't be like a pressure cooker where, you know, when the pressure build up, like it gets too much sometimes. So share, make good friends, and yeah, all the best. Thank you.
So, like in your age, in this fast-moving world, you have lots of confusions to face, thinking about your future, thinking about your peers, like lots of decisions to be taken, lots of things to be done. So always remember, do not copy others. Your life journey is your own. Make the choices of your life according to your own best decisions. And then regarding future, decide your goals based on your choices, not on what is trending, what others are doing. Follow your heart. Listen to yourself. So, you fix your goals, then you pursue your hobbies, then you set your belief system, you make your boundaries, and try to build a future of which you'll be proud of.
So I would like to thank Women's College for giving me this opportunity to be in the midst of our very dynamic young citizens of our state, and in the midst of such esteemed panelists. All of us should remember one thing, is that every day in life we use some essential commodity. How many of you use a rubber band every day in your life? How many of us are using a rubber band? I'm using a rubber band. Okay. Resilience is like a rubber band. You can pull the rubber band, but it always comes back to its original size. you are that rubber band. You need to conserve your energy, because sometimes when you use that rubber band for something that it's not meant to be used, like a big object, it will lose that elasticity. Don't lose that elasticity in your life. Let your life be an example to others. That is the best way that you can be the best of yourself. Just imagine that you are a model to somebody. Keep this in mind. As a model to somebody who will create positivity. And if you do small things in your life every day and note down, please keep alive your diary. Note down all the beautiful things that you do in your life, because in times of hardship, open up your diary to understand your true potentials. And I wish you all the best, and know that we are always there to help you at any time. You can always contact. Thank you to Iba for contacting me. She has my number. You can always contact us at any time, and we are readily available. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Ivan. The moment I look at her, I forgot what is happening also. Yes, scary in these days and time actually with all the, Anyway, but the thing is, I just want to tell you that sometimes you might feel you're not enough. So what I do when that happens, I go and visit the halfway home where we have mentally challenged women. Then I go and visit the kids who are under observation, or the children who have been taken halfway. They come from other states, they don't have documents, so they get separated from their parents. And they stay day in, day out in rooms which have bars. You are free. There's freedom. You have liberty. So if you feel that you don't have enough, can you look at yourself? I work with disability challenged people also, so we sponsor them from Government of Meghalaya Social Welfare. So we give scholarships. Some of them are visually impaired, some of them can't hear. So we have a Meghalaya Sign Bank app where we can do communication. But here we are on a very spiritual platform. Why? Because language cannot be touched. It's not concrete, it's abstract. Do you get it? All right? And so you're listening to me, I'm looking at you, my visual, my vision is clear. And I always say, what you celebrate becomes a celebration. I teach my kids every morning, so they say, thank you, Lord, for the oxygen. Without oxygen, 7 seconds, everything collapses, even your walls. I say, thank you, Lord, for the soil. That's why we get organic food. Yesterday, I got 7 pumpkins from Garo Hills. They brought all the way in a bus, because it's gratitude that has now been percolated. What will I do with the pumpkin? All right? That day the ADB went to faraway village. They give squash and cabbage. They cannot carry it in an aeroplane. The Lord has given even water. So just our neighboring state has got 1 international airport, 4 railway stations, 5 flyovers, 80 malls and hotels. Not even a proper road. But God has blessed us with the weather. It's a natural air condition. That's what all the tourists who come here, they are like amazed, they are like impressed with Sora, they're impressed with the beauty of the land. You see it in your mobile. Number 2, they love the water, they love the people. Even my Excellency Governor, he said, your people, the people of the state are so gracious, so harmless, such an asset, because we don't harm anyone. Few cases here and there, whose voice are they listening to? That should not be the story of Meghalaya. The story of Meghalaya is young women like you, young girls, pretty girls, just showing up, coming to college, being so good, doing what you need to do. There's beauty in your face if you could see from here. You illuminate, the room, the place. You have beautiful teachers who take care of you. See, sir, out there, he could be anywhere, but he chooses to see that you're disciplined. All right? And not only that, your principal opens this time. And so thank you so much, Ivanisha and Georgia, because you chose to, not let go of 7 phone calls All right? Till you get that answer, I can sit here with all these enlightened people. I'm like so impressed because of the nature of the work, we don't come out. We become very traumatized. So we just go and crash and isolate. And thank you so much, Madam of Foreign Media, Madam Ivan Mauri. It's like, thank you for dressing up and for being pretty. Because when you're pretty, it suits the eyes, you know? Georgia was telling me, they said, ma'am, you dress well. I said, no, because why should I hold you to ransom coming in drab clothes, right? You're going to look at me. I might as well, you get your words, your time, you know, that if you don't like my face, at least the accessories are there. All right, with that, thank you so much. And because I talk a lot, 24 hours, I talk a lot. Time and space is a domain only of planet Earth. The moment you go to the hemisphere, we are no longer governed by time and space. I pray that whatever you need to do today, which I tell to all my audience, maybe by 8:30, by 9, you finish all your projects for the day, your work for the day, your needs for the day, your assignments for the day. May that be the grace that comes from the spiritual release that always happens in our gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And like you mentioned, I think we all need to take out time, and just say thank you. Thank you, God, for the blessings, the abundance. So I would also like to thank each and every one of you for being such an attentive audience. And we've had an insightful discussion on youth, mental health, and resilience, learning from our panelists about the different challenges that our youth, the young people face nowadays, and the different tips and strategies that we can use in our daily life, and on how to build emotional strength and maintain our well-being. So I believe the key takeaway from this discussion is that mental health matters. And like Dr. Jasmine said, that building resilience is a skill that we can all develop, whether it's through self-care, like all our panelists have stressed, or seeking support when needed. Or we can create communities, supportive communities, to lend a helping hand to your friends or your peers. And remember, I wanted to say this again, that seeking help is a sign of strength, of bravery. It's not a weakness. And also, as students, you have the power to take charge of your mental health, to lend a helping hand to your friends. And that's why I like the question asked by one of your colleagues. She said, your classmate, she said that, she wants to help her friend. So that is a kind of resilience that we need. So I look forward that, I really hope that, we take this forward, the lessons that we learned today forward, and to make mental wellness a priority. And once again, I would like to say thank you to Deep Jyoti India Foundation, to Kong Eva and Kong Georgina for, co-organizing this event with Women's College, and because we feel that this is a very, very important topic that we all need to talk about. And once again, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our panelists, Dr. Jasmine, Dr. Sharma, Kong Camelia Doreen, Dr. Nandi Lingdor, and Mrs. Kar for sparing your valuable time to be here with us, and for sharing your insights, your valuable insights, and your tips with our students. So let's continue this conversation beyond this session, and make small and meaningful steps each and every day, to help bring or build a future that is strong and resilient. With that, thank you so much. And I would also like to take this opportunity to address my viewers on YouTube. Parlo filayo sngo ya kren halor ka kwat ya kya lani kata ka jingla ka jongi ban shim ka bu ban kmi ba kani ka ka jingko jingkia ka jungi om ta ka bor met ka jungi hinre ka bor per khar ka jungi ru ngila ban khmi la dangi don ki nuki jing e ha ka jing ka jungi ha ka jingya ti ka jungi ngin wat ya ki la jungi ra pa pher ki badon but ki nonge kran ta sngi kila ban juru halo ki jing don kam ban ya kran ya khana halor ka ni ka jing ki jing e la ni ki jirwat ki badon ha ka jing mod ka jing per khar ka jong phi te parlok da ki tu ngi lai poi she bakut jong ka ni ka jing kran ka jing im ta sngi banga kwa ban ai khuble ya phi ru ka jing plai por ka jong phi ban snga bi ka ni program. So with that, thank you very much, and I wish you I with that, thank you so much, and a wonderful day ahead. God bless you both.